Hey guys, welcome back to Jody Hughes Music, and today's video we're going to talk about slow banjo backup. This is part 3 of the series. If you haven't watched the other videos, go check those out first because this is a little bit more involved and advanced. This is part 3. I think it's going to be the end of my slow banjo backup for a while. He's coming to a slowdown. I'm not done completely, but I want to just give you some stuff and allow you to assimilate it and put it to use, ask questions, do your thing. I'll have the tab to this over on my Patreon site as well as my website. If you haven't become a member, that just supports the channel, keep me fired up and pumped up for the channel and keeps me growing. I will tell you this, guys, I got some good news, which is I've been picking a lot. I'm back to playing gigs. I've played 3 gigs in the last 3 days, and I'm going to one today, and then I got another one here in about 4 or 5 days. So the gigs are rolling in, and that is good, not only for me, but I'm sure that I'm not the only one this is happening to. There's probably loads of musicians that are starting to get those calls again, and that is wonderful for us. But anyways, let's go ahead and get into this. We're going to talk about some chromaticism, some thirds positions, and I'm gonna basically be using the 1st and 3rd strings and then the 1st and 2nd strings. Let's go ahead and get into this. So this is going to be the first little shape, and basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to be walking from G up to this C, but we're going to use some chromaticism. So I prefer to use my pinky here. You can of course use your ring if you'd like, but I'm on the 5th fret of the 1st string and then the 4th fret of the 3rd string, and I'm going to be back and forth between the 1st and 3rd string. We are not going to hit the 2nd string. Kind of the way this is done. 1, 3, 1 is going to be the pattern. You're going to continue this all the way up the neck. So 1, 3, 1 is going to be the right hand pattern. 1, 3, 1, 1, 3, 1. Basically, that's our kind of triplet pattern, if you will. So stay there, and then you're going to move up to 7 and 5. Some of you will recognize this as your 6s or your 3rds position. 7 and then 5 on the 3rd string. 1, 3, 1, 1, 3, 1. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up chromatically from here, and I'm just going to slide up a fret. It creates a lot of tension because it's forcing your ear. It says, oh, I've got somewhere else I have to be. So you got to go up one more to 9 and 7 now. So the whole thing. And that's all G, by the way. Now, I don't know if you caught me doing this, but you can just use these 2 fingers. It's up to you however you want to do this. You can use the thumb and the middle, but kind of what I do is I start with my middle, and then I do the crossover roll. You'll find some videos on my channel somewhere about a crossover roll, which is what I do is I use my pointer finger on the 2nd one. So I'm alternating the fingers. And our destination here is this C chord. So in context, what this is going to sound like. So imagine you had a song, and you're playing and you wanted to go up. That would be fast, or maybe it's a slow song. Like that, you see. So that's basically connecting you. If you want to think about it numerically, this would be the 1 chord to the 4 chord. And that comes in handy because what if you're in the key of D? Let's say you're in the key of D, well, your 4 chord is all the way up here. So you could do something like this. I took the same pattern, and I'm just starting on the 12th and 11th this time. I'll do that again. Now, that could also be not just a 1 to 4, it could be a 5 to 1. So if I had a song, to 1 there at the end. So those are some kind of ideas as far as getting you from, I call this, I have a lot of names for this. Students call this the diamond shape, the box shape. I've settled on the diamond shape. So it's getting you from the diamond shape to the diagonal shape and then back to the diamond shape, okay? So that's just one of them. Let's go on, and I'm going to kind of do one that's a little backwards if you want. I'm going to start you on the diamond shape down here. So this is now a G chord, 9, 8, and 7. But once again, I'm only playing the 1st third string. Right hand is not changing, it's just this time I'm going to go the opposite way. So this time, I'm going to skip the chromatic note because mathematically it won't work out. So, down 2 frets. Some of you are going to probably say, well, isn't that an F chord? Well, we don't have another note in there, so you can't really tell what it is. It's a bit ambiguous, if you will. I'll explain more about that in a minute. And then back to our original shape of 5 and 4. Okay, and then from there, I'm going to take this and move down 2 frets, 3 and 2. And that's going to walk me down into a C major. And so what we're kind of doing here, there's a couple ways you can look at this. It's really kind of almost like a 1, 5, 1, because this is technically could be a D7. You don't need to think about all that, but you know, if you're harmonically thinking about it, 1, 5, 1, and then when you walk this down, that's implying the G7, and that's what pushes your ear into that C chord. So you have this. I use this stuff all the time. So let's see if I can put them both together, maybe. I don't know. Now let's start over. Maybe that's G to C there. So you can see you've got one that walks you up, and then one walks you back. Okay, now this one, it doesn't matter where you start on this one. You could start way down here on your D. The way to remember this stuff is what chord shape does it start from? It's diagonal going down to the diamond shape. So diagonal, here's your D, way up there. What is that, 16 and 14? And you just use the same pattern. Down 2 frets, and into your diamond shape, down 2 frets, and then this one goes to, you couldn't see this, but a minute ago, that C chord is really your diagonal. It's just off the fingerboard, if that makes sense. So what this means is D to G. That could be a 5 to 1, that could be a 1 to 4 in the key of D. So maybe I'll put all this together again. D. It's all going to depend on how many measures that you have when you do this, and that's for you to kind of mathematically work out. But depending on how fast you're going, that could be 1 measure, or it could be, it could be 2 measures, depending on how slow the music is, okay? So you have to kind of work that out, if you will. So those are 2 main patterns that I use, either walking down or walking up. You could also do things like this. Let's look at the chord change C to D for a minute. You don't have a whole lot of time if you're going C to D, so you could just walk up chromatically like. And Crowe does this a lot, and it's the same pattern. I'm just starting on the D, and I'm just walking C, C sharp. So I'll do this from here. Or maybe you want to go backwards. Maybe that's a song that has that nice D to C. I like those tunes. Crowe does that a lot. You know, you can do this with your old right-hand patterns too. Go back and watch the other videos. You can go up. Anytime you have C to D or D to G, you can throw those little patterns in there, okay? Here's a couple little patterns I use, but these are not based off the 1st and 3rd strings. They're now going to be based off of the 1st and 2nd string. So all I'm going to do, you can bar if you'd like, but I prefer to use separate fingers. I'm going to be on 12 and 12 of the 2nd string. So 12 of the 1st string, 12 of the 2nd string and 1st string, okay? So your pattern, triplets again, but you're going to be 1 2 1. Da, da, da. Sounds like nursery rhymes. So basically what I'm going to have you do is you're going to take this shape, move it down 2 frets, and then you're going to go, that's the 10 and 10, and then you're going to go to 9 and 8. This is, once again, it's part of your diagonal chord, but we're not playing the whole chord, so I can just use ring and pointer here if that makes sense. So that's still your diagonal, it's just that I'm using different shapes. That's a G, it's all G. And then I'm going to move down 2 more frets to 7 and 6. And this is kind of like a G7, G9 kind of sound. And that's going to push your ear into this C chord, which you can bar 5 and 5. So this is a nice little run too. That connects you from the 1 to the 4 or G to C. See, if you want it fast, you could throw it in there. Too fast. But you get the idea. Depending on how fast the song is, you could still. And I mix it up. Like sometimes I might mix it up with a pluck. Your right hand doesn't have to keep doing the same pattern. You can mix these sorts of things up. And man, you can create really nice long lines. If you got a bunch of measures of G, you can actually combine the ones I've already went over with this too, and then you get all sorts of nice little patterns. So how would you start it? Let's just pick a random key. Let's pick something hard though. Let's say you want to start on E, okay? And E is going to go to A because that's the 4. So how do you do this? How do you think through this? That's what I want to teach you. So it's a bar chord based lick. So what I mean is it's based out of the bar chord. So what that tells me is, oh, I got to find the E and the bar chord. So I just go here and then I start with the same pattern. When you're learning these licks, don't think in terms of frets, think in terms of distance. So think, oh, I'm down 2 frets. Oh, I'm down 1 and I change my hands. I'm down 2 frets. So it's down 2 frets. Change my hands, down 2 frets, if that makes sense. Come up with some sort of pattern for you to remember it by, because when you change keys, you're going to need to know that. So if I start on E now, so once again, it's down 2 frets, down a fret, but switch my fingers, and then I end up at my bar. So E would be, pick a key, work through this. I'm just showing you one key, but you've got to be able to do this in multiple keys. I recommend G, C, and D to start with. That'll get you through most bluegrass tunes. Anyway, so let's see. Is there any other ones on this? I mean, you can also go up. You can go the opposite way and use chromaticism. Okay, so what I'm doing, I'm starting on 9 and 8. I'm going to use these fingers. You can use whatever fingers you want. 1, 2, 1 with my right hand again. Bar the 10th fret, chromaticism, up, and then to my destination, my C chord. Okay, so that's a nice one too. D, so here, how do I figure this out? Once again, this starts on a diagonal, bar, up, 3. So diagonal, here's my D. I make my shape, bar. So that'll carry me into a G chord. So I'm going to give you like a progression. Maybe I'll try my best to put all these to use. I don't know. We'll see. So G going to C. Now D. I'll do a different one. G. Whoops, sorry. You could do that, but that's not what I went over. You could go chromatic, but I don't want to do that. I want to do the other one. C. Now D. The point point of all this is to give you ideas. It's not to be exact every single time, but you can mess around with this. I always tell my students, it's kind of like mathematics. You got an X amount of time and you got to figure out how to get from point A to point B. And you can, I mean, sometimes if I've got a lot of time, I'll kind of trick the ears a little bit and I'll start going down and then I'll come back up. I might go. You see, and that was all G too, even though, hey, someone's going to say, hey, you play G flat. How can that be G? As long as it resolves in G and it's not like, and you stay there, it doesn't matter. So you can do all sorts of stuff. Mess around with this. That's another one. You have a G to a G7. Let me go over that one real quick. G, G7. And the reason that's G7 is because this is G7. That's just like this G7 up here. So all I'm doing, this is an easy one to remember. Take whatever bar you're on and move it up 3 frets and you get the 7th. If you're only playing the top 2 strings. Pushes you into the 4, which is there. If you want to do it over a D chord, here's D going to G. I know I'm going through some of these fast, but you got the video, you can slow it down. And of course, you can always ask me questions. Shoot me an email, throw it in the comments, do whatever you want. I'll help you out, trust me. That's what I'm here for. Anyways, I hope this gives you some more ideas. And between these 3 videos, you've got enough stuff to play on slow tunes to drive your bandmates and friends absolutely bonkers with the banjo. Anyways, if you haven't hit that subscribe button, please do so. Check out the Patreon. I got some merchandise underneath. You can look at the links for that. And I'm out of here. You guys take care and happy picking.